Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. Today we're going to be doing a video on one particular Pokemon that I wanted to discuss, one of the restricteds actually. It's going to be Calyrex Shadow. So Calyrex Shadow is a really interesting Pokemon, right? Like typically in other formats we've seen it be really aggressive, we've seen it do a bunch of damage, pretty much focus around being the strongest offensive option on majority of teams. Now, the intention of this video is to tell you why I think that's actually the wrong approach and give some, I guess, facts to back up that claim. Now, pretty much what I find most interesting about Calyrex is I feel like it's a very misunderstood Pokemon in some regards. People typically associate it with an offensive, like it needs to do damage immediately roll or it's doing nothing. It actually is a lot more unique than that, and I think that this is something that we actually saw some people tap into during the Victory Road tournament. And like I found this set so interesting that I wanted to make a video to talk about it. So that's pretty much what we're doing today. If you guys would like to support my videos, please make sure to check out the Patreon down below where you guys can support me beyond obviously watching these videos. Make sure to check out coaching if you guys would like to improve your skills. But yeah, getting right into it. So Calyrex Shadow at face value does look like it's a fairly frail Pokemon, right? Well, frail in relation to, you know, obviously other options. However, if you look at its bulk actually isn't that bad, right? The only issue, and the reason why it gets KO'd so quickly usually, is because there are a lot of 4x moves that affects it, specifically dark moves and specifically ghost moves, right? Now, that doesn't mean that the Pokemon itself doesn't have the ability to stay in the field, and I find it interesting that majority of the Calyrex are biased towards Life Orb right now, because I actually feel like Sash is the best set out of all of the... Oh my god, my voice just cracked. Is the best set out of all the ones in play right now. And the team I wanted to specifically highlight that I think identified this or showed this really well... I'll actually find this right here. Not Yveltal, Groudon. It's going to be Calyrex, Shadow, and Groudon. Where is this? Calyrex Shadow. There's actually a lot of Lunodons. This is, by the way, all the usage information from the tournament, by the way. The Victory Road tournament. I'm just looking for specifically Calyrex Shadow Groudon. Yeah, so here. What team did I want to point out? It's the team North and Jones used. This one. Here we go. Perfect. So what I found very interesting about this team, right, that I thought was really cool, was pretty much how it was able to exert a lot of pressure with the Calyrex carrying Will-O-Wisp, right? Now, Will-O-Wisp Calyrex is really interesting because typically these Calyrexes run Life Orb. They're centered around doing damage, but by giving it the Sash, the Life Orb was able to go to the Charizard, and the Calyrex was able to run Will-O-Wisp, which is actually really disruptive to a lot of opposing physical attackers. And in this format, there are definitely a lot of fast physical attackers that don't want to get burned or don't appreciate, you know, taking that status. And this is a great way to actually deal with the uptick almost of those kind of Pokemon, right? Now, Calyrex speed tier actually does put it really far ahead of like a lot of the other Pokemon, you know, the nearest comparable Pokemon speed tier wise being Zacian. Majority of Zacian don't even run max speed, which is worth noting, but even for the ones that do, it still outspeeds it because it's 222, right? So it's literally able to outspeed all of these Pokemon, right? It's able to go for Wisp, and it's able to exert a lot more pressure in terms of both a damaging and support role, right? Now, the nice thing about this is this means you can even use it on a team that appreciates more bulk. So, for example, this team, if you look at it, is actually pretty defensive, right? Because you have Safety Goggles Thundurus, you have Incineroar with Intimidate, you know, you have a setup Swords Dance Groudon, you have Gastrodon with Yawn, and then you have, like, your two big damage dealers, Groudon also kind of included, right? And this is really intriguing because I feel like with a lot of current teams, they really focus on the restricteds being super offensive, and we've already seen the success from restricteds like Yveltal already doing well, being able to play in more of a defensive role, to where it shows where Calyrex actually has that merit. And this is the best performing Calyrex team from the weekend, and also too, Calyrex in general is like, it has decent bulk. Like, realistically, if you look at its stats, like, yes, obviously, its defense is a little low, but, like, it has high special defense and HP, even if you weren't to invest into it, right? Because you're always going to do this, right? But even then, you're still, like, having a decent amount of bulk, so after, like, a Will-O-Wisp, you're taking less damage, you know? After an Eerie Impulse, your Calyrex isn't taking much. The Sash is just to ensure that you don't get one-shot by something you don't want to get one-shot by. So, genuinely, I think this Sash set on Calyrex is actually the best thing that's happened for it, mostly because it gives you so many unique options and opportunities to pair it on certain teams, right? You can even pair it with Grimmsnarl, where you get Reflect plus Will-O-Wisp, you know, Reflect plus, even if you decide to tech Snarl onto it. I think Psyshock is better, but I'm just trying to give you guys some options. You could even run some other moves like Taunt on it, right? Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with Calyrex, I think. And I think that this was the start of starting to go into this area of Calyrex that's a little bit more nuanced than the typical Life Orb offensive Calyrex. Obviously, we're going to talk about that set too, and where I think that team fits the best. However, I do really like the Sash, Astral Barrage, Will-O-Wisp, Psyshock, Protect, or here, Psyshock. You know, like, it's just a super cool move pool. And then, like, the Sash is even better because versus opposing Calyrex, you're not forced to really commit to the speed tie. You can still lose the speed tie and beat them because they just don't have Sash. Now, if they are Sash too, then obviously it's more of just like a 50-50 situation. The nice thing here too is even versus Yveltal, if they want to go for a Sucker Punch versus you, you have the potential to click Will-O-Wisp, right? Now, I do think this is a little stronger in closed team sheet. That being said, I still think it's really solid in open team sheet just because you have that consistent Will-O-Wisp pressure that forces your opponent to game plan differently than they normally would if they thought you were offensive Calyrex, right? But it's super cool. Like, this is just a really awesome Calyrex set, and I think it has so much potential, and it's something that I would definitely recommend, like, using, because I just feel like this Sash Calyrex variation is just so strong, you know? It can cripple even opposing Groudon for a team like this, you know, and that's just incredibly crucial. So just some really cool factors, I think, that went into play on this team that I just, like, kind of make it stand out from the rest, right? I mean, if you look at the majority of the other Calyrex teams, I'm sure we're going to find they're a little more offensive, you know? With this one actually opting to run Sunny Day and Trick Room, which I wouldn't really recommend, but you're kind of seeing the pickup of, like, Sash being an option on these Calyrex teams, right? Like, we'll go over here, same team, right? Except it's West Gastro. You know, we go over here. Now this Calyrex is Life Orb. Now you'll see that it's a little more biased towards the offensive set, where it's running Substitute, Astral Barrage, Psyshock, and Protect. Now I do like that it's paired with the Whimsicott. If you're gonna run the Astral Barrage offensive Calyrex, like the Life Orb one, I do think that you need to be running it with something like Whimsicott or some form of speed control so that you're able to capitalize off of these moves, you know, and able to do a lot with it. I feel like the one thing that people struggle a lot to recognize is when you should be using what set. Typically this Sash defensive set I think will work better on like more defensive teams, and I think this Life Orb set is so much better if you're using it on a team that really appreciates the extra offense, you know, where the team is already built around kind of getting that offensive damage out. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised on like these kind of teams to see like, you know, a more offensive Calyrex, and like we see it right here, right? It's just 4 attacks. So it's just something really interesting to keep in mind. Not even saying necessarily each of these teams are good. It's just more so pointing out that specifically you'll see certain, you know, uses of a Pokemon where like in some teams it's better for it to perform a certain role over another. You know, Yveltal can be one of those examples. That being said, like for Yveltal, majority of the time you want the defensive set, but yeah. So that's pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to go over in Calyrex. I mean, if we look over into how like the partners it works best with, I think this defensive Calyrex will typically work best with partners like Grimmsnarl. Incineroar would probably be something that would come to mind. Even Gastrodon, which it was paired with before. Like, just partners like that would be really good for this defensive Calyrex. And then I think for, if you're going for a more offensive Calyrex with, like, Life Orb, right? Life Orb, Substitute, Psyshock. I think that's going to pair better with partners that are pretty much speeding you up. Whimsicott, being one example. Regieleki, being able to deal a bunch of damage. You know, kind of giving you that extra pressure. Even paired with stuff like, you know, Zacian, which can also exert some pressure and give you a bit more of a balance mode. Just stuff like that I think would be really cool, right? And I find it really interesting, you know. I think that it's really cool to see Pokemon like this have some interesting new changes. And this just shows in GS Cup how sometimes, like, one move change or one item change can really just completely change how Pokemon plays and flip a matchup over on its head. Like, I saw so many games where that Will-O-Wisp Calyrex messed people up just because it had Will-O-Wisp. And if it wasn't Will-O-Wisp, like, it would have been so much easier for the opponent, right? So it just shows how, like, small changes in techs like these can actually just destroy certain teams and just be really good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to go over this Pokemon because I found it to be really interesting, and I thought that it had some unique things it could do that I hadn't seen in previous formats using this Pokemon, so I thought it was worth discussing. If you guys would like to support me beyond this video, please make sure to check out the Patreon down below where you guys can support me. I incredibly appreciate everyone who, you know, obviously supports me there. Make sure to check out Twitch where I stream tournament runs all the time. I will be streaming a big tournament on Friday. And also make sure to check out coaching if you guys would like to improve your skills. Once again, guys, thank you for all the support on the videos. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.